What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Malifaux Lore Guide, and this week we are talking about Jack Daw of the Outcasts and Resurrectionists. So spoiler alert for all the stories involving Jack Daw, and you'll find a list of those stories in the description below. While you're down there, drop me a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and consider sharing this video with somebody you think might like it. So now let's get into Jack Daw. When the breach reopened, a large tree that once stood outside the governor's mansion remained completely unchanged in the 100 years since humans had visited the city. The one difference was the presence of a hanged man in one of the tree's tallest branches, who later becomes known as Jack Daw, and the guild was puzzled by the lack of decomposition over the course of a century. They decide it will be best to remove the tree, but they find that neither axes nor fire seem to have any effect on the tree, and the governor general decides instead to start hanging criminals in the tree so that it will serve as a reminder for all those entering Malifaux of the guild's power. The being trapped inside Jack Daw's body was unable to do anything but observe its surroundings until the portal to the Grave Spirit's realm was opened at Kythera and its power flooded his body. Having no memory of his previous life, Jack Daw is overcome with a feeling of guilt and a desire to seek vengeance on a woman, though he can't remember who she is or why he hates her. Finally breaking free of his corporeal form, Jack Daw wanders the city and seems to be attracted to conflicts involving women. Many people have been pleasantly surprised to find they are suddenly being assisted by Jack Daw, though he has also been known to suddenly switch sides in the heat of battle for no apparent reason. Outside of Malifaux City, in a town called Stranglehold, several of the locals are plotting a rebellion against the tyrannical magistrate, who regularly has townspeople executed, simply to keep the rest of them in line. The leaders of the rebellion discuss their plan, and question a man named Crabtree as to why he has decided to betray the magistrate. Crabtree hesitantly admits that the reason he is helping them is because he saw Jack Daw, and the other members are confused at his response. So he goes on to explain that he has read through the magistrate's papers and reports from the guild, and he believes that Jack Daw is an instrument of punishment, and that he appeared to warn Crabtree that he must redeem himself for all of the evil he has helped the magistrate commit. The co-conspirators are hesitant to trust him, but one of them points out that Crabtree brought them the key to the magistrate's gate, and that this should be enough to earn their trust. They send messengers around the town who tap secret codes on the walls, stirring the villagers, and they all assemble, armed with tools and weapons. As they march on the magistrate's gate, he stands in front of it defiantly, telling the people that if they disperse immediately, that he will spare some of them, as several of his guards ride up and surround them. Suddenly they all start to hear a whisper, and Jack Daw appears, floating just off the ground, directly towards the gate. The guards try to attack him, but he's able to take out several of them, and then floats above the crowd and the gate, landing next to the magistrate and killing him. At the same time, several of Jack Daw's minions fight through the guards, but then continue on and assault the protesters, who are now trapped between them and the gate. One of the conspirators opens the front gate and runs into the mansion, looking for her husband, who had been captured by the magistrate, and hoping that he'd still be alive. The woman finds her way to the dungeon and opens the cells, only to find her husband has been long dead. As she leaves the building, several of the other torture victims from the dungeon make their way out to join Jack Daw's horde. As Crabtree makes his way through the crowd, he sees the magistrate's body reanimate, and Jack Daw and Montressor approach him. And it dawns on him that Jack Daw is not an instrument of punishment and retribution, but was simply attracted to the torment and suffering, and he came to wallow in it. The night that the Governor General dies, Jack Daw finds himself in the wilds, where he happens upon a breach floating in the air that is calling to him. As he approaches it, he sees a burning man, with its face frozen in a scream, who appears to be asking for his assistance, or beckoning him to the other side. As Jack Daw reaches out towards it, the portal suddenly closes with a flash, and Jack Daw wakes up the next day hanging in his tree. After the fallout from the Governor General's ritual, Zoraida sees that many aspects of fate are slipping away from her control. She considers that the breach between worlds is beginning to collapse, and decides that she will need a person who she can use as a wedge, similar to the way she had previously used Jack Daw to banish the ether. After a night of partying and drinking, Captain Zip of the Infamous brings his and Parker's crew to Malifaux City in order to try to steal the hanging tree. Upon arriving, the bandits and sky pirates take the area around the tree, meeting with very little guild resistance, and begin securing mooring lines to the tree itself. As the guild catch on to what they're doing, guardsmen start pouring out of the governor's mansion, but are outnumbered by their foes. The Infamous begins powering up, trying to pull the tree free from the ground, and the tree appears to be giving at first, before runes all over the tree start to glow, and everyone hears a sickly howl. Parker, who just woke up with a severe hangover, looks out over the battlefield in shock, and sees a man with a noose around his neck approaching, as the glowing runes fade. He recognizes the man as Jack Daw, and begins giving orders to retreat, as he slides down a rope to the ground, injuring his ankle on landing. Parker finds Captain Zip, and tells him they need to leave immediately, and Zip points out that they'll need to cut the moorings in order to get the infamy free. Parker tells him he'll provide cover, since Zip has a jetpack, as Jack Daw is getting closer, fighting his way through a few guild guards as he approaches the tree. Zip flies up and begins cutting the ropes, as Parker watches Jack Daw lasso one of his bandits around the foot and pull her towards him. Parker tries to help her, but Jack Daw pulls her in and impales her on a metal fence. He then throws the noose at Parker and catches him around his bad ankle and tries to pull him towards the same fence, as Parker unloads one of his 6-shooters at him. Zip sees this happening and flies over, attempting to cut the rope around his ankle, but finding that his knife passes through the rope as if it wasn't there. As Parker gets dangerously close to the fence, Zip sticks his lightning gun through the fence and fires it at Jack Daw, causing him to spasm and recoil at the electricity, and loosening the rope just enough for Parker to get his foot free. As Jack Daw continues his advance, Zip grabs Parker and they fly back up to the infamy, making their escape. When Karai returns to Malifaux, she begins making preparations to perform a ritual to resurrect her dead lover. She makes her way to the hanging tree, and Jack Daw watches as she cuts down one of the dead bodies. He approaches her, and she is apprehensive, not knowing if he means her any harm. But Jack Daw simply approaches the body laying on the ground, removes the noose around its neck, and hands it to Karai. She takes it hesitantly, and then leaves. Later, Karai makes her way to the graveyard where Francis was buried, and Jack Daw watches from a distance as she enters his tomb. After exhuming the body with the help of one of her friends, Karai is attacked by several members of the guild. She is outnumbered, and though she dispatches one of the guards, she finds herself at a stalemate with her remaining foes. Jack Daw sees this and charges in and attacks one of the guild guards with his noose, and Karai takes the opportunity to move in on the other guard with her shears. Just before he dies, he exclaims that the two of them are working together, and Karai is just as surprised as he is. Daw finishes mauling the guard that he took down, and Karai thanks him for his help and then runs away. After Karai finishes collecting all of the items needed to perform her ritual, she brings Francis's body to the Qian Gong and begins the process of bringing his soul back from the beyond. Jack Daw enters the room with her and watches as she performs the ritual, but not long after, they hear a racket as the guild and the Ten Thunders come to stop her. Karai asks Jack Daw for his help, and the two of them work together to fight off the attackers, successfully dispatching the entire group. However, as Karai goes back to her ritual, one of the guild guards, who wasn't quite dead, fires a shot, destroying one of the artifacts Karai was using. The portal starts to close, and Karai realizes that she needs a human sacrifice in order to complete the ritual. She turns to her friend Jian, who had been helping her the whole time, and is about to kill him, but Jack Daw jumps into action, smashing Jian's head, and then rushing to the portal, where he pulls a second spirit through the opening, and absorbs it into himself. Karai tries to stop him, but she is too late, and the portal collapses. Karai attacks Jack Daw, but he is suddenly able to move in a smoother and more natural fashion, and is able to dodge her blows and make his escape. So that's Jack Daw done and in the books. He's definitely one of the weirder characters because he doesn't have any dialogue, and we get very little of his internal thoughts, but he still has kind of an interesting backstory. And if you caught it, we learned that Zoraida did something to him, so I wonder if she's the unknown woman that he's seeking vengeance on. Maybe that'll get clarified in a future story. But anyway, drop me a comment below and let me know who you'd like to see me do a video about next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video if you wouldn't mind helping me out, and thanks for watching.